Now we come to the concluding part of our event this afternoon. Unfortunately, Mr. Amit Ray, who was to come here to do the concluding remarks, there was a medical emergency and he is not able to come. So I would take the opportunity to invite three of the most experienced people here to come to the panel, and we can have some question answer open house session with them. I invite Mr. Dasgupta is already here. I invite Mr. Chidambar. Please join us on the dais. And I don't see Mr. Deb. Deb, Deb, please come. Let's do a sort of recap of what we have heard and what are the implications of this, and how it leads into tomorrow. Do you want to make some opening remarks or just leave it open to the audience to?
Thank you, Deepak. I don't think there's any point really reviewing what has happened, because you've all been here, you've all been participating in the discussions. True, there are a lot of new things that have come up, and what is especially important is things which are going to lead into the discussions tomorrow. But on my part, if Deb and Prabuddha agree, I think I would leave it to an interactive discussion. If you have any issues to raise, if you want anything to be followed up, anything to be checked out on, why don't you raise the points and we will try and answer them as we best we can.
I agree with Chidambar that it will be better if you could raise the questions or issues, and then it could be more interactive on all the things which I have discussed throughout the day. Though some of the experts have left, but generally speaking, we could always discuss those issues and put our viewpoints.
Those of you who missed the first session, I think a lot of people have joined subsequently. The first topic was actually the relation of packaging design to supply chain. So can you take the total line integration right in the beginning? Can you look at the line integration even when you are designing your packaging? The point that was raised is the primary pack design. You can actually visualize that in 3D right up to the final retail. But somehow the point in terms of its connection to secondary packaging, its connection to tertiary packaging and track and trace, that entire thing was not covered in that panel. But today, the point that is coming out of this, and this is the point that I would like to stress, is that a lot of it, of the automation and the end-of-line solution that has been discussed in the panel 2 and panel 3, that process should probably start at the packaging design stage. That means primary, secondary and tertiary packaging must be thought through right in the beginning, and there are computer hardware and software which can enable you to do that, and prototyping which can enable you to do that. I think that is the learning from the first session, and I thought I would bring up those people who didn't attend the session up to the point. Yes.
Sorry, if I can just add to what Deb said. What is the relationship really between packaging design and supply chain design? If you're starting out with a new product, your primary focus has to be the product design. And when we say product design, I would again like to warn you that most people, at least in discussions in the first session, the focus was on graphic design. And unfortunately, that is not really where the primary focus should be. The primary focus has to be on structural design and on the pack form. Everything else follows from that. Whereas, if you have an existing supply chain and you want to tweak things, or you want to make a change in the packaging, then of course you have to bear the basic design of the existing supply chain in mind when you do this thing. This is a primary difference I would like to draw between the two approaches that need to be taken.
Well, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Chakravarti. This is actually not a question. I just wanted you experts to throw your opinion. What would be the future of this? The point is related to the track and tracing, especially in the pharmaceuticals. As per the original DGFT regulation, the primary packaging also has to possess the specific barcode and the specific number for the track and trace across the gamut of supply chain. Seeing the criticalities of having this implanted on primary packaging, we all know how much difficult it is to implement on a strip of tablets or even aluminium backup. Somehow last 2 years it is dragging on, and DGFT also has obliged the requests of the pharmaceutical companies and the converters as well. The sword is still hanging on. Temporarily they put up. Right now it is implemented only for the secondary packaging. But it doesn't mean that DGFT will come out again and enforce the law on the medical companies, in turn the converting companies also to some extent. The primary packaging implementation of this barcoding system. So seeing the criticalities of this, so what is your viewpoint? How it can be implemented, whether it can be implemented at all? If that can be, it's a bigger challenge in fact, but how to overcome it in the future if it is required.
Well, you're saying the sword is hanging, it's no longer hanging. The decision has already been made. The US FDA has already made it mandatory that by 2017 there has to be a system in place, and they did this primarily because what was happening is that the system in the USA is very funny. You have each state authority managing the state, and you have the FDA which oversees the entire country. And there was a lot of overstepping and confusion about who should be actually monitoring this. So to create an absolute ground base and to set the standards, the FDA has now announced that from 2017 it has to be in place. So all the states will have to fall in line and there will be a unified system, which is a good thing. Now, the USA unfortunately is a very peculiar market, especially for pharmaceuticals. Now I would like to speak on pharmaceuticals separately and other FMCG products separately. In the US, they have a totally different kind of dispensing and distribution system. It's the prescription chemists and the people who dole out the actual prescriptions who repack everything into a prescription pack and they actually deliver it. So what is very important in the United States is not only a track and trace ability, but a total track and trace of the pedigree of the product. So the pedigree is really the prime focus of the FDA's regulation insofar as pharmaceuticals are concerned. So what they have said is that it has to be in place because there are multiple stages at which the packs are opened, they're repacked, and they're repacked into prescription packages. So that is why it becomes very important there. Now, track and trace generally has a lot of advantages, and these are not necessarily led by regulations. You're not doing it to meet regulations. You're doing it in your own interest. For example, there are many things that track and trace enables. For example, there is so much improvement in the distribution and in the efficiency of the supply chain. Because the unique code, if you are able to track and trace, not only does it automatically build in automation in replenishment, in monitoring and managing the supply chain. What many people tend to oversee or overlook is the fact that it actually gives you so much advantage in terms of management of the whole supply chain system. The second thing that is very important is, of course, to prevent counterfeiting. And what is very important apart from counterfeiting is that there is also a lot of diversion of stock from markets which are being fed at a cheaper price. And this diversion is actually a very serious problem. Thirdly, recalls is a very, very big issue now. And all these can be much better managed simply by having a track and trace system in place. And all of these can be very, very beneficial for companies who are distributing these products. So track and trace, there is absolutely no question that it provides a lot of advantages, and it is not merely to meet federal regulations.
Yes, Mr. Chidambar. Actually, in fact, I fully agree with you. And my views are on the same line of what you are also thinking. It's not one should not go by the governing laws or something like that. The requirement is more important than the regulations. So the question remains unanswered. In fact, I'm on this side. In fact, I attended a couple of meetings in the Pharmaxil panel also on the same lines during the last 1 year. So everybody is crying Paul that okay, how we can implement it. That's the biggest challenge. It's not just
you see, I take your point.
It's not just the US and regulatory markets alone. Even in the third world countries, everywhere it is required.
But you see,
how to implement it?
See, this is going to come up for discussion tomorrow. I'm sure we'll get a lot more insights tomorrow. But personally, there is no reason why individual unit codes cannot be assigned and monitored. Just take a look at what has happened on barcodes. See, on barcodes, what happened was when the idea was first proposed, there was a lot of confusion on who is going to actually manage this. And I must say the GS1 have done an excellent job. And the biggest reason why this has happened and has become a successful practice is because a standard, uniform, international standard was adopted, and the whole industry, all users said, okay, we are going to follow this. Unfortunately, what is happening today is that the alternatives that are possible are either variations or modifications of barcodes, which can be done through the GSI system. But the most promising of the whole lot was the RFID system. Now, RFID has run into problems, and my personal view is that the one major bottleneck that has held up the development of RFIDs is because there are 3 different technologies which compete with each other and which are totally incompatible with each other. You know, you have low frequency tracking, you have high frequency tracking, and you have ultra high frequency tracking. Now, each of these has different requirements, and the 3 technologies are totally incompatible. Because you see, you need compatibility not only in terms of the universal adoption of the technology, but also in setting up databases which will actually store the information, will form the basis for the track and trace activity. And for each of these different technologies, the systems are completely different, and they are ideally suitable only for each of them has limitations in its universal acceptance. So this is something I think which can be accelerated by adopting a uniform system, and if the whole industry can work towards uniform system, it will vastly speed up the adoption of RFIDs and bring the prices down to make it possible.
Yeah, I am optimistic as well that this will happen in the coming years, coming 1 or 2 years.
See, I feel that the track and trace has to happen. I mean, say one of the problems, if you see when you ask with somebody, is that there is no space. Now, if you take a same drug from India and America, the strip size is bigger in America. There is enough space there. In fact, our strips have reduced to so much of small size that sometimes you cannot read the text. Now, so worst comes worst. What will happen is the strip sizes will become bigger. Then there will be enough space.
Yeah, well, anyhow, there are many things to be seen in Indian markets. That's a different issue. In fact,
I mean, if you see some of the script is so
many,
small.
Many pharmacists not even bother to give the product information. They don't even give the carton also. They just
say the size of letters, for example. Say we have reduced the strip size to such a small size that hardly anything can be coded onto there. So that should not be the standard. I mean, say. So we can look at it. We can look at it differently also. And say, as Chidambar was saying, that say when the same challenge was thrown to our packs, I mean FMCG packs. Even FMCG packs are quite small. I picked up this pack from our tea session. Say this is a 1 rupee pack for coffee. You will not find it anywhere throughout the world. that you can make and drink 1 rupee coffee, and there is a barcode, clear, A-class barcode, readable. So I think
It's possible. It's not that
yes, you can see this pack. A 1 rupee coffee pack.
Yeah, like Mr. Chidambar just now said, even the for secondary packaging also, initial stages people were very
And the
quickly
secondary
that
stage,
whether that can be implemented or not. Now
yeah, and
it
the
has become a
secondary
reality
stage,
now.
track and trace is for a different purpose altogether as compared to the primary pack track and trace. There is more for warehousing and things like this and all that, say first come first out, intelligent warehousing and all that. So that is a separate issue altogether. Now this serves a different purpose. I think these two should not be mixed up together, because say it's broken at the retailer store, and then what reaches you is the primary pack.
You see, to add to what Mr. Dasgupta said, you see, one of the leaders in this whole initiative are Walmart. And Walmart have already specified to most of their large users that for all pallets coming in, they have to have RFID.
RFID.
And the reason for that is not because they want to track it or trace it for a regulation purpose, but simply because it vastly improves their operational efficiency.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, I would just like to add another thought. One other very important aspect of packaging that is now coming up, which needs to be looked at very seriously, is the issue of sustainability. And although we haven't had much chance to discuss it during this particular conclave, I'm sure it will form a part of our...
There will be a bit of it tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
We'll conclude tomorrow with sustainability, because I agree that is part of the agenda. So with this, I think we should conclude the formal part of the today afternoon. And we can carry on to the cocktail and dinner, which is in the building next door. So I'd like to end with a vote of thanks for firstly our sponsors, ITC, Signode, Omron, Siemens and Winsac, our knowledge partner AIA, and our panelists who've been here, and all of you who have so patiently, participated in this discussion. I hope we'll see you all tomorrow, same time, and 3-4 discussions tomorrow. So thank you very much. Just one thing, there is a feedback form also in the kits, and please try and fill up that feedback form so that we can work on our events in future based on your feedback. So feedback form is in the kit. Thank you very much.